Hello, everyone. I see people joining now. Welcome. I think I'm going to be waiting for about a minute or so, and then we can start afterwards. Okay. Hi, Sarah. I do have some Turkish friends from some other parts of the world, I believe, joining tonight. Hi. Hi, everyone. Well, in the meantime, while we are waiting, maybe you can write from what part of the world you're attending, and if you have been to Istanbul before or have seen Hagia Sofia before, maybe you can write that on the chat. Teşekkür ederim. Thank you. I do have Israel, Puerto Rico, from the United States. Oh, all over the world. Wonderful. New York City, Chicago. Good, Michael. What up? Oh, Diana, have you been to Hagia Sofia when you were in Istanbul? Oh, good. Wonderful. I'm very well. Thank you for asking. Venice. Oh, yeah. 4 bronze horses. Yep. Miami. Wonderful. All around the world. And thank you so much for being with me tonight. And I'm so happy to see many of you are interested in that, architectural marvel. Well, marvel in all terms, actually. Hagia Sofia. So, Solana Beach, California. Chede, wonderful. Sure, of course, Sarah. It's a pleasure to share my passion of Hagia Sofia, because I do love it. And you have been in Hagia Sofia, Estela. Wonderful. Wonderful. It is an incredible city, Istanbul. It's very, it's generally beyond expectations of people. When people come over here, it's a very, very good city, very nice city. Lots of things to do. Well, maybe we can start a little bit. How many people we have? Okay. So tonight we are going to be talking about Hagia Sofia. It is my passion, I can say. I do love Hagia Sofia. And we're going to be talking about a little bit about the history of the Roman Empire, very brief, so you can understand how it ended up, how they ended up actually building that kind of marvelous building. And then we're going to be going on to the details of the Hagia Sofia itself. And I will be doing 1 or 2 Q&A sessions in between, depending on our flow. We do have 1 hour tonight. It can be a little longer, depending on the questions or the flow of that we're going through, because I'm quite passionate about the place. So so if you do have any questions, please use the Q&A section. It's on the bottom of your screen, Q&A. The chat is for fun. If you do have any comments, if you do any LOLs during the presentations, because of the some stories that I'm going to be telling to you. So you can write this down on the chat, and then if you do have any questions, please do use the Q&A, and then when we are on the Q&A section, I'm going to be answering as much as question I can do. So I am going to be starting with how special Hagia Sofia is. Well, let me tell you about myself first. I am a professional tour guide in Istanbul, in Turkey in general. I have been a tour guide since 2010, but for the longer time, I have been doing, I was a destination specialist for Turkey and I've been working in a travel company in the luxury market. So I was doing all the planning and events and everything. And in the meantime, on and off, I was doing the guiding. And my guiding experience, actually, a part-time, I mean, full-time guiding experience has started with my love to Hagia Sofia, I can say. So one night we did have a special event, opening Hagia Sofia at night for a small group. So I was the one arranging the event. So I had a chance to visit Hagia Sofia all by myself just before the group arrived. And it was phenomenal. It was amazing. And I did love Hagia Sofia on that night. And we did have an amazing guide for the group and everything, because I was the organizer. I wasn't doing the guiding for the group. So, but he was an expert in pretty much, many things, art history and everything, but I wasn't able to listen to that guide that night because Hagia Sofia itself was talking to me. I was stunned. I was amazed with it. And then that night was actually my night that I have decided to be a full-time guide, and I was going to start with Hagia Sofia. So that's why tonight I have chosen Hagia Sofia to share with you guys. And I'm so happy that you are all here to share this passion with me. And Hagia Sofia is a building that is very important for the world's history in all matters, in religious matters, in architectural matters, history, cultural, religion, obviously, and politics. So it's a very important building. But whenever I go to Hagia Sofia, whenever I think about Hagia Sofia, I do think Hagia Sofia for itself only. Hagia Sofia means, literally, it's a Greek word, means divine wisdom. And Hagia Sofia, when you actually see the building for itself, it is a wisdom itself. It gives you a lot of things, a lot of information about the culture, about the history, about the religious improvements and everything, and the different mixture of different religions in one place. It's an amazing place, really. So I'm going to be giving all the information according to that point of view. And let's start with our presentation. So I'd like to give you kind of a timeline of Hagia Sofia, the current one, actually. The current Hagia Sofia, because there have been two more before, and we're going to talk about these. The current Hagia Sofia has been used most of the time as an Greek Orthodox church. In between, in total, it was 859 years. In between, there was a Fourth Crusade siege in the city for about 57, 60 years or so. And during only this time, it has been used as a Roman Catholic church. And then it has been converted into a mosque by the Ottomans, and it has been used as a mosque for 482 years. And then it has been converted into a museum in 1935 till this year. And this year it has been converted back into a mosque. So I would like to start a little bit with the Roman history. So you do know what Roman Empire is, Eastern Roman Empire or Byzantine Empire is. Some of you might already know about that, but some of you may not. So I'm going to be giving a very, very general information about that. So Roman Empire, this is the map of Roman Empire in the third and the beginning of the 4th century. This is the time of Constantine, actually. So this entire Roman Empire, with the capital city of Rome over here, when you look at the map, Rome, it does look as a middle point, but it was really not. It was really hard to manage both parts of the land. It was very huge. And that's why in the 3rd century, one of the Augustuses, one of the emperors, he decided to go on a tetrarchy. So he appointed one more kind of Augustus, which is kind of an emperor, and also 2 Caesars, like managers of this part of the world. So for the east part, there were 2 Caesars, and for the west part, there were 2 emperors. So there were 4 people who were running the entire empire. And of course, 4 people who are all very successful, who are all very smart. And of course, it's not going to go very well. So all men wanted to run the empire, but the one who actually decided on tetrarchy, all of a sudden he wanted to retire and he wanted to go up to the Dolomites and spend his final days over there. So after following that, there were a lot of turmoil in the place. So in the up until the Constantine's time, which is about 300s, 2015, during this time, the empire was kind of there were a lot of turmoil going on during the empire. So Constantine wanted to combine the entire empire under one ruler himself, obviously, and he did that in a very short amount of time. In 15 years, he did amazing things in the entire empire, and he declared the empire as one, and with one ruler, one emperor himself. But after him, because of the religious matters on both sides, and also other political matters, the empire has been divided into two: the Western Roman Empire and the Eastern Roman Empire. They were both Roman empires, but the west side and the east side as a management has been divided. And later on, Western Roman Empire was demolished. It was not able to survive, but the Eastern Roman Empire has thrived afterwards. So after that event, the historians in the 18th century, to be able to differentiate the two empires, the actual Roman Empire with the capital city of Rome, and the one on the Eastern Roman Empire, which has been thrived afterwards and lived for about 1,000 years or so, 1,100 years. They named the Eastern Roman Empire as a Byzantine Empire. The people living in the Byzantine Empire, like Constantinople or Nicomedia or Athens, they were calling themselves Roman. They were Romans. So to be able to differentiate the two, we are calling the Eastern Roman Empire the Byzantine Empire. And let's come to the location of Hagia Sophia. That was it for the Roman Empire history part. And Hagia Sophia's location is right on the historical peninsula of Istanbul. So you see the Asian part, European part of the city on that side. Istanbul is a city that has been set on two continents, literally. This is Europe over here, these two parts over here, and that one is Asia. So Hagia Sophia is on the historical part of the city. It is located right in the middle of it. And if you come to Istanbul, and if you decide to visit all the historical monuments, you can literally do it in one day because they're all lined up. So this one over here is the Blue Mosque, Hagia Sophia, and Topkapı Palace, right next to each other. So it's quite a compact area, and all the other historical monuments are around this area as well. So Hagia Sophia has been, this is the third building that you see on the same spot, that Hagia Sophia that you see over here. In the 4th century, when the Constantine finally combined the entire empire and became the emperor for the entire Roman Empire, he decided to appoint a new capital city because Rome was getting a little older, and it was not really suitable for him to manage the entire empire from there. So he decided to make Istanbul, Constantinople, or Byzantion back then, as the new capital of the Roman Empire, the entire Roman Empire. So, and if you make the empire, if you make the city the capital city of your empire, well, you're gonna have to make it beautiful, right? So he started a huge constructional campaign. The great Roman palace, the hippodrome, big hippodrome area, and lots of forums and everything. So it was a huge constructional campaign. So when you look at the Constantine, he was very successful putting everyone together in one rule. in the Constantine's time, Christianity was super powerful. There were a lot of people converted into Christianity. And many people, when you ask many people, they will think that Constantine was a Christian. Even, I mean, maybe not in the early days, but in his final days. The reason for that, he never declared that he was, he was believing in one of the gods of the religions, not pagans, not Jews, not Christian. He was very towards the Christians, but he was also, because of the Roman part of the Western part of the world, of the empire, that part was really pagan. So to be able to keep everyone together, he was leaning towards Christianity because he allowed Christianity to be practiced publicly in the entire empire, along with many other religions. And he was, for a very long time, he was declaring himself as the believer of Sol Invictus, sky god, like one of the pagan gods, but and he was printing his coins with that and all. But many of the Christians leaders, that they were saying that he was really leaning towards the Christianity, and therefore he was very understanding and very how do you say? He was really good towards the Christians, and he gave them all the rights and everything, and later on privileges. So, but since he did not want to, declare his, closeness to the Christianity, he did not build the first church in the city, the first Hagia Sophia in the city. It was his son, Constantius, his elder son, Constantius, who built the first church. We do not have many information about that church. We do know that it was very small. And we do know that it was not called Hagia Sophia, it was called Megale Eklexia, meaning great church. It was a small one, that we do know that. It had a wooden rooftop. In one of the riots in the city in the 5th century, it was demolished. And in the time of Theodosius II, the second building in the same spot has been built, the second Hagia Sophia. We do know a bit more information about the second Hagia Sophia. The reason for that, after Hagia Sophia has been converted into a museum, people were able to make the archaeological digs around Hagia Sophia, and they found the foundation of the second Hagia Sophia. So when you look at these 3 buildings, these 2 are the models of the current Hagia Sophia. The only difference is the dome, and I'm going to tell you in a short amount of time why there are differences in the dome. And this is the second Hagia Sophia. It was very big one. It was very monumental one, but it was not as glorious as the current one. Again, in a rectangular shape with a rooftop, triangle rooftop and everything. And these are the remainings of the second Hagia Sophia. What happened? The second Hagia Sophia has been demolished in one of the riots in the city, and we're going to talk about it again. And they leveled everything over here. This is the foundation of second Hagia Sophia that you see over here. Let me put my pointer as a laser so you have a better, see over here. This is the foundation, and this was the entrance of the second Hagia Sophia, and people were entering over here, and these 2 pieces was on the gate of Hagia Sophia. So in the garden of the courtyard of the current Hagia Sophia, you see many artifacts, many relics from the second building. And this is one of the pieces that you see in the dig. And these are 12 sheep figures. They were on the monumental gate. We were able to, draw the how, I mean, we were able to, imagine or find out how the entrance of the second Hagia Sophia looked like, and it was looking like that. So all these 12 ships were over here. They are resembling 12 apostles of Jesus Christ. And when you look over here, if you can see, there are 2 human figures. So you can see it's actually very, very big. So in the 6th century, unfortunately, that building didn't last much as well. In the 6th century, this guy that you see over here is Justinianus during Roman time. And he was one of the most ambitious Roman emperors in the Roman Empire. as I said, the Western Roman Empire has been collapsed, but later on, especially with Justinian, and before him, many other emperors did that as well. But all the parts that they have lost with the division, they got them back. So this guy was very ambitious, and he was sending all of his troops to all around the empire, and there were lots of battles. And if there's a lot of battles, there are a lot of taxes. So no one was happy. And authorities in the government were really bad towards people. So there was a riot started in that area of the town. This is the hippodrome where all the chariot races were going on. This was the main area for the entertainment in the Eastern Roman Empire. But it was also a house to many riots, many celebrations and many riots. So there was a riot started in this area. And in a very short amount of time, it escalated quite a lot, and people left hippodrome, and they started to destruct or harm anything that come to their way. They started a fire, they demolished the buildings and everything. It turned out into a very violent event. And Justinian was not prepared for that, and he was quite afraid. He was not able to go out on the streets, and many of his generals were out in the battles anyways. So he thought of fleeing from the country, and they made meetings, and then ship was ready, and he was going to jump on his ship and he was going to escape. But he was married to a very brave lady called Theodora. This is Theodora. She was the empress, wife of Justinian, and she was the one on the final day when they were about to leave, arriving to the council meeting, and even though she didn't had any right to speak, she spoke, and she said that I do not think the royals has a right to escape from a situation like that. If I'm not going to be the empress of this land, I don't have to leave. And I would like to stay and fight for my position, and I suggest you do the same, she said. And then Justinian said, well, you can't, if you say to an emperor in front of these soldiers, he's not going to say, I'm escaping anyways. But they did make a plan. And then they said that the emperor was actually willing to hear the people out in the hippodrome. So they have invited everyone back into the hippodrome. And then when everyone gathered in this area over here, all the troops from all the gates get into the hippodrome, and there were about 30,000 people over there. And from dusk till dawn, they slaughtered all of them. It was one of the bloodiest riots in the Roman history. So when it happened, of course, the riot has been subdued in a very violent way, but it happened. But after the riot, Justinian went around his city, and then he saw his church, the second Hagia Sophia, was demolished, and many other buildings as well. So Justinian needed to start a constructional campaign in the city as well, and part of that campaign was the current Hagia Sophia, that one over here. So he summoned two architects from Anatolia. One was genius in mathematics and the other one was genius in geometry. And then for weeks, they sat with Justinianus. He wanted to have a very big area, rectangular, or, not a round. Round is not a church generally. So he wanted to have a very big area with that can hold thousands of people. And he wanted to have one huge dome to cover everything up. And well, it's not really possible to cover a rectangular place with a dome, right? It doesn't fit in. So they sat, and then they came up with the plan of Hagia Sophia, which is that one big dome over here, and two half domes, two semi-domes on the sides, and quarter domes on each side. So the area extends a lot, and it is a very big dome, but the dome is supported with the half domes and then the quarter domes, so the weight of the dome is not directly on the walls. And also it is a very usable plan for a rectangular building with a dome. So that happened, and then, but they did not have a lot of time. Justinian did not give the architects a lot of time, but they did have great amount of money and manpower. So the construction started in 532, and in a record time, it was completed in 537, 5 years, 10 months. And when it was completed, there is a tradition, as they say. There is a tradition in the Roman Empire. Whenever there is a church is opening, especially a royal church is opening, there is a tradition that the archbishop and the emperor need to enter the place hand by hand, resembling the unity of the government and the religion. So that was the tradition, and the archbishop was there, but they say that Justinian got really excited and he rushed into the meeting. We do not know if that was true, but one of the memoirs of the people in the era is telling about that. So it might be true. I would have got quite excited with that. So for about 916 years, it has been used as a church, Hagia Sophia. And after that, it was the time for Ottomans coming to the city in 1453. And when the Ottomans arrived to the city, they wanted to convert Hagia Sophia into a mosque. Hagia Sophia was quite important for Ottomans as well. So when they arrived to the city in May 1453, they wanted to make their first Friday prayer, which is one of the holiest prayers in the week. So they wanted to do their first Friday prayers over there. So they, in about 3-4 days, they have converted the mosque sort of into a mosque, and then they performed their first prayer over there, and then afterwards it became the royal mosque, serving to the Topkapı Palace, which is right behind it. And then so when you look at the Hagia Sophia, of course, this is not the first mosque building. I mean, it was not like that when they were first converted. So this is one over here, for example, is the first minaret that has been added. And then later on this one added. So Hagia Sophia became, in the Roman Empire, wherever you see a royal mosque, it's not just a mosque, it's a complex. So they have added many buildings around it. Many renovations has been done during the Ottoman era and all. And currently the Hagia Sophia is, the situation of Hagia Sophia is like that. This is the current situation, a version of Hagia Sophia. So in the 1935, when it has been used as a mosque for about 482 years, Atatürk, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, founding father of Republic of Turkey, has decided to convert Hagia Sophia into a museum, because Hagia Sophia, he saw Hagia Sophia as it was, and it was a far more important than dedicating it for one of the religions. He wanted to have Hagia Sophia as a place where you can see how a coexistence can happen in one place. So he ordered Hagia Sophia to be converted into a museum, and he invited many renovation teams. And then all the mosaics has been opened up. There were archaeological digs around Hagia Sophia, and then Hagia Sophia was ready to see as a, for people to see as a museum in 1935. And let's get into the plan of Hagia Sophia. So this one over here is the current version of Hagia Sophia. So if you would be in the Roman time, if you would be an emperor, there are two entrances for Hagia Sophia. If you would be an emperor, you would be entering to the church, to the building, from the south gate, southwest gate, which is right over here. And if you would be a citizen or anyone else actually in the empire, you would be entering from this gate, right over here. So there are two gates of Hagia Sophia, one for the emperor and one for the other people. And in the plan of Hagia Sophia, when you get into the, from this gate especially, when you enter Hagia Sophia, there are two corridors first, and then you enter to the main area, which is called Naos, the main praying area. So I would like to show you the 3D view of that place. So if you can see it, all right, I would like to, if a person can write that, can you see the 3D view of the of Hagia Sophia? Wonderful, thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Philip. So this is the entrance of Hagia Sophia. This is where the emperor was entering back in time to the courtyard, not the building. And all these buildings that you see all around, this one, that one over here was a primary school, the fountain, this has been all added during the Ottoman time. And that is the southwest entrance where the emperors were using. If you go in from here, you get to the area which is called the inner narthex, and on the other entrance of Hagia Sophia, this is the other part, which is the entrance for all the other people other than the emperor and the royals, and which is that one over here. So you would enter Hagia Sophia from that gate, and remember that I showed you the photos of the relics from the second Hagia Sophia. It is right over here. So you see the relic with the sheep on it. And if you look around the courtyard, you will see a lot of columns, a lot of pieces from the second Hagia Sophia. Okay, so, all right. So I'm going to enter Hagia Sophia from the regular gate, like normal people would get in, to the outer narthex area. This is the area. If you get in from that, gate where the normal people would enter, this is the area that you're going to get in. So it is called outer narthex. It was the area which was open to everyone. Even the non-baptized people were able to get into this area. And when you look at it, it's nice. It's the first entrance, but when there's a ceremony going on in the church, that was the location for the lowest class of the society. Since this was the royal church of the, of the empire, there were places for different classes of the society, and that was the location for the lowest class. So when you look at it, it's nice. I do like this area, but I'm going to show you the next area, which is the Christian only area, and which is the area where the emperors enters to actual building, which is that one. So this is called the inner narthex. So look at over here, this is the outer narthex, and then you enter into the inner narthex area, and this is the Christian only area in every day. So inner narthex, when you look at Hagia Sophia, when you look at the walls of Hagia Sophia, the entire walls of the building has been covered with marbles, which was not really a common thing to do, because it was hard to bring that amount of marble from all around the empire. And also it was really expensive to do it, but they did it. They spent a lot of money for the marbles, and they covered the old walls of Hagia Sophia with marbles, and the entire ceilings of Hagia Sophia have been covered with mosaics, generally golden mosaics. And when you look at this area over here, there are 3 gates right in front of us. This is the gate for the emperor. Just the emperor can get in from here. And these 2 were the gates for the, religious leaders or the, high authorities of the empire. And there are 3 more over here and 3 more on this side, if you can see it. These are for the other people of the societies. So let me get back to the presentation. And as said, this is the outer narthex area. So when you come to Hagia Sophia, this was not the case for the first and the second buildings, but in the third building, Hagia Sophia became one of the holiest places, one of the holiest lands in the entire empire. The minute that you step foot in this area, you were untouchable. Nothing bad would go on the grounds of Hagia Sophia. And it doesn't matter if you're baptized, if you're not baptized. It doesn't matter if you did something so bad outside. That was the sanctuary for the people, the entire place, actually. So Hagia Sophia has always accepted as the one of the holiest grounds in the entire empire. So I'm gonna go into this is the gate of the emperors. This is where they enter from the gate, and there's one very well-preserved mosaic over here from the 10th century after Christ. And we see Virgin Mary in the middle and baby Jesus on her lap. These are the titles of Virgin Mary and Jesus Christ. This is meaning Theotokos, the Mother of God. She has been pictured like that. And on the left-hand side, we see the Justinian, who built the entire church. And you can see that he's holding the model of Hagia Sophia in his hand. And we see the Constantine the Great on the right, holding the model of the city, they're both offering their great work into the religion. If you look at the mosaic, the Constantine and Justinian, they were not very alike. They were not from the same family, first of all, but they were not very alike. But when you look at the mosaic, it looks like they are actually, they're very much alike. They're very much similar on their faces. The reason for that, by the 10th century, both of the emperors have been already idolized by the people. So that's why they have been dressed the same. They have been, painted as the same, the short hair, without any, beards or, anything. So they have been pictured like that because of that. And the inner narthex that we have talked about, the Emperor's Gate. And there is mosaic, if you can see over here, there is a mosaic in the Emperor's Gate over here, which is dating to the 10th century again. And it is picturing Jesus Christ in a God role. He's the God over here. He's sitting in his throne. He's holding a book, probably the Holy Book, but it says, I am the light of the world, it says over there. There are two medallions with the Virgin Mary and with the Gabriel the angel over here. And this one over here is one of the emperors, Leon the Sixth. Leon the Sixth was an emperor who was quite unlucky with the in terms of heirs, successors. He did not have any son, and he divorced three wives, three women, to be able to get the new one, to be able to get a son. But he was not able to do it, and he did it 3 times. And each time, when he did it, the church was not agree with that. So on the final time, against the church's denials, he divorced the 3rd one, married the 4th one, and finally he had a son. And the church, but the church did not want to baptize him. So if he's not baptized, he's not going to be the heir. He's not going to be the successor. So to be able to be forgiven by the church, he made a lot of donations. He divorced his wife. Said so. I mean, later on they were together again. So finally, and he also ordered this mosaic to be built over here. So he's begging to Jesus Christ in a God role for forgiveness. And according to the blessing gesture that we see in Jesus' hand, and also the hail in his head, we understand that he was forgiven, according to the church, or the mosaic master, we can say. So let's enter to the main area. This is the main naos area that we call, where all the main ceremonies has been done. And it is quite spectacular. Immediately when you get into the main area of Hagia Sophia, the first thing that you want to look is the dome, because it has been laid out quite marvelously, and it's a huge one and very high one, it immediately gets your attention. So especially back in time when the people were getting in, they were not actually believing how a dome can be that high and can be that big. So when you look at that dome, this is not the first dome of Hagia Sophia. This is the design of a second dome, because Istanbul, city of Constantinople, is located on a fault line. There are a lot of earthquakes going on in Istanbul. So that's why the eastern part of the dome collapsed. So they summoned the nephew of one of the architects, and then the dome has been redesigned by adding 40 windows around it and supporting by arches and making a little higher, and by using lighter materials, they came up with the current design. But afterwards, there were other collapses as well. That's why there have been many buttresses have been added on the outside of Hagia Sophia, and in one of the photos, I'm going to show you that. So when you look at the dome, there are 4 figures on each side of the dome. So there's a close-up look over here. These are angel figures, actually. These are called seraphim angels. They are not celestial beings, but they are in between. So when you look at the dome of Hagia Sophia, dome is celestial. Dome is representing the gateway to heaven. It's the the place of the throne of God or something like that, and the place bottom for the human beings. So the seraphims are in between, and they have been pictured on each side of the dome, on this area over here, the connection point of the dome and the walls. And they have 6 wings, and they have been declared as the gatekeepers of heaven, or the protectors of the God's throne. So when the people back in time, the ones who built it, they did know about the static of the entire building, but the ones who were visiting, they did not know about that. So they were actually believing that those seraphim angels would be carrying the dome up that high. Many people were believing that, as they say. So these are the buttresses that I was telling you about. Some of them have been built in the Roman time, but the huge ones in the 16th century has been added by the Ottoman era by one of the great architects called Sinan. So this one over here, this one over here, these are great buttresses that support the entire building, because whenever there is an earthquake going on, the walls tend to go outwards, and the dome doesn't have a place to hang on, and then it collapses. So that's why they supported the outer wall with huge buttresses. So after the 16th century, thank God, there was no other collapses on the dome of Hagia Sophia. So this building is kind of one of a kind, we can say, when you look at the Roman history. So after Hagia Sophia, after the 6th century, the Byzantine Empire did not actually continue with that plan. They did not try the big domed building with half domes. They did not try grand areas and everything. So that's why we can count this building as a late Roman structure. It's a Byzantine building, the Eastern Roman building, but it's a late Roman structure. So when we get into the inner area, there are different sections, different places that I'm going to talk about right now. But in the meantime, I would like to look that maybe we can answer some of the questions. I've seen one question over here. If you do have any question, you can write into the Q&A part, and I can try to answer them. The ruins of 4 Italian sea republics. There is one question from Massimo. Are there any ruins of 4 Italian sea republics, Venezia, Genoa, Amalfi, and Pisa, during the medieval 1200s and 1300s? Yes, there is Galata Tower, the most famous one. When you look at the silhouette of Istanbul, Galata Tower is always there. It was a Genoese tower built by the Genoese colony, which was located on the other part of the harbor of the city of Constantinople. So they built these, there were city walls as well. Part of the city walls, very small part of the city walls is also in the city. but the most visible one is the Galata Tower in the Galata neighborhood, which is quite a nice one. And it gives us the great view of the entire city. It has been built as a watchtower. Currently, it's a museum. I hope that answered your question, Massimo. Do you have any other questions? No. Okay. All right. If you do have, you can always type it in the. Okay, one more. Blue lightning that appeared above the dome during this stage of the city. You mean Joanna Callan? She's asking, what was the blue lightning that appeared above the dome during the stage of the city? Siege of the city. Okay, siege of the city. Well, there's a belief that the Romans were believing whenever the city has been lost, that the Holy Spirit would be leaving the church. So some say that was that. Many people would believe that when they saw that the night before the actual actual day when the Ottomans entered the city on 29th of May, and they have they claim that they have happened. It was actually the eclipse of the there was the eclipse night actually, as far as we know. So that's why when it was dark, when the moon came back again, it shined the dome. You can explain that. Or many Romans believe that the Holy Spirit left the building, and that was the light of the Holy Spirit. And then they understood that the next day the city was going to be lost. So this is one of the two stories, two answers for you. I hope that answered your question. Another question from Danielle. I heard this building will return to be a mosque again. Well, it happened. In July, it happened. July 24th, the Hagia Sofia has been converted back into a mosque. It is serving as a mosque right now. And I will show you the photo at the end of the mosque. When you enter Hagia Sofia, there are carpets on the ground. All of the mosaics are open. Currently, before the conversion back into a mosque, the upstairs, where many of the mosaics were located, were under renovation. So they are still under renovation, but in the ground floor, except the one mosaic in the main area, which is the Virgin Mary and Jesus Christ. Other than that, everything is open. You can see pretty much everything. David, what's the general feeling among people in Istanbul about it returning to a mosque? So for the people who know about Hagia Sophia, in the city, many people know about Hagia Sophia and its history and everything. As a guide, you're welcome, Daniel. And as a tour guide, for example, personally, I of course would have preferred Hagia Sophia become, staying as a museum. So it would be open to. It is still open to everyone, but it's a place of worship again. But there are sides, we can say, but many people were thinking that it was not a very necessary move, but it happened. So the government did it. So we can't really make further comments about that. But many people feeling, bad about that, and some people, they are happy that they have got another mosque, the conservative one. So both sides actually, we can say. I hope that answered your question, David. Yes, Joanna, women can enter the main building. Yes, we can enter the main building between the prayer times. If there's a prayer, the main area are reserved for men. And between the prayer times, they open everything. It's open to everyone, so you can get in. It's the case for all the mosques in Turkey. So between the prayer times, you can get in any mosque in Turkey. So nothing is different in Hagia Sophia about that. And also for the Hagia Sophia, since it has several mosaics on outside as well, they are not using that part as a mosque. They are opening for everyone, so everyone can see the mosaics on the outside. I hope that answered your question, Joanna. So I'm going to be continuing from Now we don't have many time left, but it can be a little, you know, over 1 hour, but, you know, you're free to stay, you're free to go if you do have anything else to do. But I'm going to be going on probably. So this is the area that is separated, that you can't get into this area because this was the area where the Roman emperors were doing their coronation ceremonies. Sometimes between the 5th and the 6th century, the royals decided to wear their crowns in the church. So when Hagia Sophia has been built, later on, they have added this part as well. So the throne can be brought over here. They will be reading from the Bible, and then the emperors would be wearing their crowns. And this is how it looks like from the above. All these marbles have been brought from somewhere else, by the way. The red ones from Egypt, the yellow ones were from Africa, or green ones from Africa. So that all of the marbles are from different parts of the world. And when you look at the columns of Hagia Sophia, the marble work in Hagia Sophia is phenomenal. It's amazing. So this is one single piece of marble, and it's kind of a lace work, if you can see. So it was really important to build one kind of design in all the columns. So there were masters doing the exact same style. And in 5 years, 10 months, there are 140 columns in Hagia Sophia, and all of them have, most of them have these kind of things. So if anything would go wrong with any of the you know, column heads, you would not be able to, you know, see the same thing, because it's really, really hard to do it. And there are roundings that you see over here. These are the monograms of Theodora, empress, and Justinian, the emperor. And in the Ottoman time, when it was converted into a museum by the Ottomans, as said, Hagia Sophia was a very important building for Romans and for the Ottomans as well. So it has been converted into a royal mosque. Every sultan made renovation, made addition, you know, gave gifts to Hagia Sophia. So Hagia Sophia has always been protected. So that's why we do have many mosaics in a very good condition, the entire building in a very good condition. Of course, there are a lot of renovations going on right now as well. So this little building that you see over here is a library that has been added in the 18th century here by Sultan Mahmud II. He was a very intellectual guy. He was very into books. He had more than 4,000 books in his library. So he wanted to build a library in Hagia Sophia. As said, wherever you see a royal mosque in the Ottoman Empire, it's not just a mosque, it's a complex. There are schools outside of the royal mosques, universities and primary schools. So you were able to get your tutor, and you were able to get your book from this library, and he wanted to have his people to be educated between the prayer times. So this is the inside of the library. You could do your trainings over here as well, do your readings. This entire walls. This is a very Ottoman design, by the way, lots of tiles. And he also built places like that, little balcony looking things. And you were able to get your tutor, and you were able to get your education in these little areas in the mosque between the prayer times. And when you come to Hagia Sophia, there are, you know, in a design way, there are a lot of things, but the chandeliers are quite amazing. These are the chandeliers that has been added in the 19th century renovation during the Ottoman time. In the Byzantine time, all of the lightning were actually up in the high, a little more celestial level, we can say, up over here by the dome, by the balconies over here. So it was a bit more higher, a bit more darker. So in the 19th century, there was a huge renovation by Sultan Abdülmecit in one of the Ottoman emperors. And they have, by the Fossati brothers, they came from the Switzerland. And during that huge renovation, they have added these chandeliers as well. They are quite object for the photos in Hagia Sophia, we can say. And now we are at the main apse. This is the area where the altar was located. that curved area is actually the area which we call Bema. There was a wall in front of it with lots of, icons, maybe mosaics of Jesus Christ on it. And behind that, there were the preparation in this curved area. There were the preparation for the ceremonies by the religious leader. No other man would be able to get in this area. So the main apse is a very, it's one of my favorite locations in Hagia Sofia, we can say, because of its lighting. And it was such a good example of coexistence. And at the end, I will show you the photo of that. But these colored windows over here, Ottomans did not have colored windows till the 15th century. They loved the look of them in Hagia Sofia. They did not destroy any of them. They just took out the crosses, put their calligraphic writing. You can see some calligraphic writings over here, and they kept using them, and they have put them in their mosques as well afterwards. And this main area is also the main area for the Muslims to pray, because when you look at the main apse, you see the in the middle you have the mosaic, which we're gonna take a close look at that, the middle windows, and you see one component over here, which is an Islamic component. To be able to convert a place into your mosque, or to build a mosque, you have to have three components. One outside, the minaret, long tower for muezzin, for a person to go up and say call to prayer. This one is called the mihrab, for imam to stand and lead the crowds during the prayers. And this one, pulpit, very much like an altar, for imam to go up and say preaches during the Friday services. So when you look at that, the middle windows and mihrab, it is on the main apse, but it is not aligned with the middle part. It's slightly onto the right side. And I would like to ask you guys that if you can guess why that was the reason for that. Oh, okay. The first answer is the correct answer, point to Mecca. Yeah, so the churches everywhere in the world looks to the east because, Jesus has risen from the east. But when you put a building in Turkey, the south, Mecca is simply on the southeast. So that's why in every mosque that has been converted from a church in the city, in the empire, you always see the mihrab showing the direction of Mecca, the Kaaba. Every Muslim needs to pray towards Mecca during the those prayers that they do 5 times a day. And over here is just simply on the Mecca is simply on the southeast. That's why it's 10 degrees to the right in every mosque that has been converted from a church in the empire. And let's move. So this little building over here is this kiosk for the Sultan that has been added in the 19th century. And it had a different entrance on the north part of the Hagia Sofia, because this is the entrance of the Topkapı Palace. The Sultan would get out from the palace and then get into the Hagia Sofia from that entrance in the 19th century. Up until the 19th century, there were no other, special place for the Sultan to be, except from the front line, maybe. So this has been built in the 19th century by, again, during the renovation of the Fossati brothers from Switzerland. And the calligraphy is quite an important art in Ottoman Empire. If you were an artist in the Ottoman Empire, you were important. You were well good. But if you were an artist in calligraphy, you were in another level. The reason for that, you were accepted as you were writing the words of God. So that's why every sultan, they all had amazing educations, but they all had to learn how to make a calligraphy. So all of them, majority of them, not all of them, majority of them, they did their calligraphy works, and they have presented it or gifted that to the mosque, to Hagia Sofia. And some of them were quite, gifted in that matter. So you can see this is a beautiful one. And some of them were doing the calligraphy but not very talented. As you can see, this is quite a simple one. It's a nice one, but it's quite a simple one. So these are, there are several items, again, have been gifted by the sultans. This is one of them over here. It's a marble jar, urn rather. It was one single piece of marble. It has been found in one of the ancient cities in the North Aegean part of Turkey in the 16th century. And it has been gifted. There were 4 of them. 2 of them has been gifted to Hagia Sofia. And they put, it is hollow inside, it's empty inside. So in the normal days, they say they were serving water from that because there's a tap right over here, little tap. And in the religious days, they were serving sherbets, like juices from that urns over here. And now we are going upstairs. These are the ramp going to upstairs, like that. So it is like a ramp, there are no stairs. Some say that why they would do stairs, but many say that this is going up to the ladies section where the empress was located, empress's balcony. When it was a church, when Hagia Sophia has been built as a church, there are 2 floors, the upper galleries, and there are main floor. The main floor was for men and upstairs was for ladies. In Orthodox as well, they did not pray together, men and women, they did not pray together. So this is going up to the empress's balcony, and many say that she was of course not climbing that ramp, it's a very long one, and she was being carried. So that's why, to be able to keep her from being disturbed, they did it as a ramp, not as a stair. So it is going up. It's a very long lap, but I think I'm gonna pass that. And now we are in the upper galleries upstairs. So remember the column hats that I showed you downstairs? These are very different because in the upstairs there have been many other renovations because of the earthquakes in Hagia Sophia. So they couldn't do the original ones and they added these other ones. These are nice too, but not like the ones in the downstairs. So this is the view from the empress's balcony. She had a private balcony. All her ladies would be lining up right next to her, and that would be her view to the entire place. You see the coronation area right over here, and the main area, the bima, and the main area to pray right over here. So she had an amazing view of the entire place. And whenever people come to Hagia Sophia, this is a very frequent question that I get. What are these huge roundels that you see? These are wooden roundels that they have names on them. They have been added in the 19th century renovation again, and they are names. In generally, majority of the mosques in Islam, they do have those names. They don't have to be that huge, but they are quite common to have them. There are 8 of them. 2 of them on the main area, always, the God, Allah. This is the Prophet Muhammad. And there are 4 caliphs on the 4 sides of the dome. These are like the first 4 representatives of Islam after Muhammad, the Prophet. And there are 2 more, Hassan and Hussein. These are the grandsons of the Prophet Muhammad. And the artist who was doing that is Zet Efendi. He was quite a successful artist. He did many calligraphy all around the empire or the capital. So he painted these calligraphies, and then he wanted to put his signature on in one of them. He did not choose the God, which is the highest place that you can choose, actually. He didn't choose the Muhammad. He didn't choose any of the caliphs. He chose his grandson, Hussein. The reason for that was actually, whenever in Islam, whenever people remember Hussein, they remember him with grief because he has been ambushed whenever he was going back to his home with his family. So it has a special name in Islam, and whenever people remember him, they remember him with grief. And when you look at this one, this is the Hussein's medallion over here, and he put his signature right over here in a tear shape to show his grief to the people. So that is his kind thought, we can say, towards believers. This is, again, upstairs on the gallery floor. This is called the marble door. Marble doors is, that was the gate that was separating the area for the religious councils and the area for the people to pray. So we are currently looking to the gate from the area that the people would be praying. And the councils that were happening behind that door was not like regular councils that would happen every week or so. They were like big synod assemblies, we call them. Lots of religious leaders would be coming from different sects of Christianity, and they would come over here and they would discuss important religious matters. And whenever they would decide on the matters, they would put them on a marble, carve them on a marble, and they would put them on the outer narthex area so everybody can be reading them. And because they were going to be valid for the next 100 years or so. So it's quite a big event that would happen. And right after that gate, we see mosaics. There are amazing mosaics over here. This one, for example, this is called the Desis mosaic. It's whenever people talk about Byzantine mosaic art, always this is a picture that you would see in the Byzantine mosaic art, probably one of them, actually. It's a very important and a very, very good example. And it is dating to the 13th century. It's the scene called Desis, the Judgment Day. You see on the left, you see Virgin Mary. On the right, you see John the Baptist. They're both begging Jesus Christ, which has been pictured in a God roll, on a judgment day for the forgiveness of the humanity's sins. So when you have a closer look to the mosaic, when you look at the face, the cheeks and the lips and the expression of Jesus Christ, Virgin Mary, and John the Baptist, you see amazing expressions, amazing colors. It's very hard to do it with mosaics, actually. Mosaics are, tiny pieces of stones, and only the gold ones that you see over here are little glasses. So this is the original version of the scene. This was like that, but the bottom part has been demolished because of the earthquake that happened in the 19th century. 1894, as far as I remember. It was a very big one, and majority of the the plasters on the walls were gone and everything, so it was a huge damage to the building. So when we have a closer look to the faces of the Jesus Christ, for example, this is where they use optic illusion in the Jesus' eye. This is what Leonardo da Vinci has used in Mona Lisa far more, far after that, far more years after this one. So this one, so wherever in the church, in the place, wherever you go, Jesus' eyes would follow you. So this one over here, John the Baptist, you can see all the expressions that that they have, and Virgin Mary right over here. And you can see how tiny the mosaic pieces are. And this is the mosaic that has been added in the 9th century to Hagia Sofia, picturing Virgin Mary sitting on a throne, which is quite good one with lots of gems and everything. And we see the Jesus Christ in her lap, on her lap, child Jesus we see. And this is one of the best preserved mosaics, and with colors and everything, is quite a nice one. And also there are 3 more mosaics on the sides of the building, on the upper walls of the gallery floors. These are the fathers of the church. They are saints, or they were the patriarchs of the Christianity, Orthodoxy, during their age. They did not live during this era. They lived generally in the 1st, 4th, 5th century, So the one on the left is Saint Ignatius. The one in the middle, Saint Ioannis Christomos, which means, Christomos means golden mouth. Anything that comes from his mouth, people were believing it. And he was kind of one of the reasons that the second Hagia Sophia was demolished, because he was in conflict between the emperors in the 5th century. And Saint Ignatius Theophoros was the patriarch of the Antioch, which he was quite an important figure of the Christianity. So they are located on these are the columns of the upper floor, and they are located right over here, and the other one is on the upper wall. There are two more mosaics in the upper floor. If you were an emperor or an empress, if you did have a great donation to the church and you're loved by the people and the religion, you were able to get your mosaic done on the wall of the Holy Church. And this is the area where the only religious leader would be able to come in. So after the marble door, so no one would be able to see them. It is just for the, for the, what do you say, acceptance or the importance in the religious way. So this is from the 12th century, picturing Ioannos Komnenos as an emperor, and his wife, Helene, actually she was Hungarian. Her original name was Presko, but she is converted into, she took a Orthodox name, Helena, and she was quite a loved one actually. And you can see the bag of gold in the emperor's hand, the donation that he's made, and kind of a receipt or something like that in the emperor's hand. And you also see a roll in the Jesus's hand. We see the Virgin Mary and the baby Jesus again. Jesus's hand, you also see a roll. This is meaning that the artist is showing that their donation has been accepted by Jesus, or their good deeds has been accepted in the religious way, I mean. So these two had a son called Alexios, and he was very sick, and they lost his son Alexios at a very early age. So when they were doing this mosaic, they wanted to remember him, and they put his mosaic on the side wall over here. And this is a closer look. You can really see that he's not a very happy child because he was sick. So they wanted to, show him that he was sick and we have lost him. So he's remembered in the wall of the church as well. And this is the final mosaic called Zoe mosaic, Empress Zoe. This has a little bit of a story behind it. So I'm gonna talk about, so this is Zoe over here, Empress Zoe. This is the 11th century mosaic that has been added over here. So she lived in the 11th century. And this is Constantine Monomakos, the empress. And this is Jesus Christ, again, has been pictured in a guard row. So they have been added. Zoe, she was the daughter of Constantine VIII, the emperor. And Constantine VIII did not have any male heir, and he wanted to have someone from his blood to be on the reign. So he asked Zoe, which was 50 years old, 50, quite old, to ask Romanus, one of the generals of him. So they got married, Romanus and Zoe. They got married, and then, but it was obviously the marriage for the throne. So there was no any love in between them. So in a short amount of time, Romanus was very old as well, and of course they did not have any heir too. So in time, Zoe fell in love with a boy in the palace, and the boy was quite a smart one, and he finally got to be some kind of like a consultant advisor to the emperor, and they had an affair. And they had a relationship, and then one day Romanos has been found dead in the palace, and on the very same day the archbishop or the head religious leader had been seen in the court. He married Zoe and Michael, and they have declared Michael as the new emperor, Michael IV. And Michael has served quite a while, about 11 years or so, and then finally he died, and Zoe was living again as an emperor, but the nephew of the Michael was the next in line, and he was not very fond of Zoe, and he knew about her, place and everything, so he banished Zoe to one of the islands on the Sea of Marmara. But Zoe was quite a powerful lady. She was not going to give up, and she has been an empress for a long time, and she waited for that position for a long time. So she wrote to the Senate members. She finally was able to dethrone the current one. Also, the Senate members was not very happy. They were not very happy as a rightful empress to be banished. So they dethroned the current one, and they married Zoe back, and she married Constantine Monomakos, the third husband and third emperor that she has had with her. So this one over here has been added during the time of Romanos, the mosaic, I mean. The body is Romanos's body, but the face is the face of Constantine Monomakos. So each time she changed husbands, she changed the face of the mosaic. And also, when you look at the name over here, it's very deteriorated. Everything is fine over here, but his name added over here later on, Constantine Monomakos over here, and Zoe's name is totally fine as well. So she was something actually in the Roman Empire, and she finally passed away afterwards without any heir of hers. And this was the photo that I was telling you about, showing the beauty of coexistence for both religion. When it was a museum, that mosaic over here was open. Currently, since it is on the way where on the direction of people praying right now, they covered it with, you know, partial curtains. But when it was a museum, you did see two Islamic components on both sides, roundels, and you see the Virgin Mary and Jesus Christ in the middle. It was the perfect example of the coexistence. And I did love Hagia Sophia for that as well. And this is the current version, current situation of Hagia Sophia. So what changed? There are carpets, obviously, on the ground. They left the omphalion, the coronation area, open so people can see it. And they have covered these Virgin Mary's mosaic with a partial curtain over here. Other than that, there are no changes in the, you know, physical situation of Hagia Sophia, we can say. And thank you, guys. That's it. I'm gonna get questions if there are some. I do see some questions. Okay, Danielle. Okay. Let's see, language, answers. Oh, thank you. That's Danielle. This is kind of an amazing comment, actually. It was not a question. Anyone, if you have a question, you can write it in the Q&A section, and I'm going to check the chat now. Oh, wonderful. Oh, thank you. Amazing, amazing comments. Oh, thank you so much. Okay. All right, and I do hope to see you maybe in Istanbul, maybe in another webinar. I don't know. Thank you so much for being with me tonight, everyone. And have a great day or night, wherever you are in the world, and hoping to see you again. Thank you.